Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. On the agenda tonight, we're going back to 1973, and we're going to be taking a look at the Marshall Tucker Band, and they're going to be playing through Ramblin' Man. So let's get the guys up on screen and see how they get on.
1, 2, 3.
I'm just going to jump in here because I have done a video already on Toy Caldwell on the lead guitar, but this is a good video because we just spend all the time of that solo just looking at the fretboard, and also the right hand that Toy just gets that thumb absolutely going crazy, but also the control that he manages to get with that. And as soon as this track starts, everybody's into it, and it's got such a cool groove to it. Looking into the crowd as well, everybody clapping along. And you can't help but smile as soon as this kind of music is played and it starts up. And just a quick shout out as well to the guy in shot, Doug Gray, with his vocal that he lays down, but then also the fact that we get those harmony vocals that come in as well, and we have Tommy Caldwell on bass here in the background. So a really tight performance all round. The tempo's really being pushed, but that gives it the energy and that gives it the groove, and that's what you can really get into. Even though this is an old video, 1973, so the audio quality isn't great, but it still sounds good in terms of all the instrumentation in there. We've got some brass in there as well, and the rhythm guitar that's always laying that foundation for then the solo that Toy's playing over the top, and the rhythm section, of course, absolutely solid. The fact that this is such an up-tempo track means that Toy's thumb needs to really be going some in order to keep up with some of those lines that he's thrown together. And And I just want to break it down a little bit. Because we get such a great angle, we can see the way that Toy rakes across the strings sometimes in order to get that speed with the thumb. Because he doesn't use a pick, it's just all of that thumb that's responsible for all of this speed. Another thing that you'll notice at 2 minutes is when Toy is raking down on the strings, so he's getting his B string and the high E string that follow each other straight away, but then he's using a little hammer-on and a pull-off to give him the time to then come back down to the B string with his thumb. So it means that he can get an extra note or two in there because he doesn't have to pick that with his thumb because he's using a hammer-on and a pull-off. And to listen to it, it is so impressive to hear the speed, but also how concise he is with the playing of the notes, considering that he's just using his thumb to do it. When you're using a pick, of course, it's a lot easier. You don't really get the luxury of alternate picking with your thumb unless you're going to grow out your thumbnail and then turn your thumb towards the guitar. And just doing that is going to be a bit of a pain, and that's why, of course, people wear thumb picks, because the angle of the pick is towards the guitar string, so you don't have to turn your whole hand around to pick the string with your thumb. Going through that, we actually did see those upstrokes the Toy was applying with his rhythm. So he's still doing that with his thumb, getting that really cool groove still in there. Like I said, they're not losing the groove here, and Toy's going to those upstrokes with the thumb. It's something to look out for. And we also see with Toy the way that he gets each note to sing with that fast vibrato. And on this channel, we do see a whole range of different sounds and different expressions with that technique. But certainly Toy's one of those guys whose vibrato stands out because it is so fast, and you can't help but just recognize it straight away. And this is one of the things about being a guitarist and trying to stand out and have your own sound. Toy just sticks with that vibrato the whole time, and it suits up-tempo numbers even more because you get that energy in the vibrato. Sometimes with ballads, you'll then want to slow it down. Let's check out the rest of the video. And there we have it. And there's nothing like watching a band who are just having a great time on stage. You can tell by the way that Doug Gray on vocals here just is letting go at the end, and it's just a freedom of expression, and there's no nerves there. It's just great to hear that kind of music, that kind of singing, but also the rest of the band absolutely on it throughout the whole performance. When I did mention earlier about that brass section, of course I'm just talking about one saxophone here, but it adds such another dimension to a performance when you have a great saxophone player, but also when you analyze what we've actually got going on here, because we've got those two guitars and it's always going to have that full sound when you've got that rhythm guitar that you can rely on, just providing that solid rhythm throughout the whole track, because you can start to place that as part of that rhythm section with the bass and the drums. You've then got a really solid foundation. Sometimes it's only bass and drums that you get, whereas having that luxury of that rhythm guitar in there as well, and then just that cherry on top in the rhythm of that saxophone just dropping in and not overplaying. This is another thing that is absolutely essential for a saxophone in a band. It's such an overpowering instrument that when it's used too much, it is so easy to just totally lose the whole track, because you just get that one instrument that absolutely sticks in your ear the whole time, whereas it's really tastefully used here, absolutely as it should, just popping in and out. Like I said, it's an old video. The sound might be a bit muffled. We might lose a bit of that brightness, that top end, because of the nature of tape recording at the time. But it still sounds great. Imagine what it must have been like to actually hear it live. And let's not underestimate as well Tommy supplying those backing vocals, because he's absolutely on it. Playing bass at the same time, of course, doubles the difficulty. It's one of those things that will fly under the radar when you do see guys that are playing and they're singing at the same time, even singing those harmony vocals, that they've still had to work at that voice and get the playing down, but then they make it look effortless. And at the end there as well, when you've got a vocalist of Doug Gray's quality up front there, it means that when you have that key change, he's got the ability and the range to then take his vocals to that other place. So that grandstand finish that we had was only possible because of that range and that control that he's got in his voice. Obviously, if they just stayed on that same key the whole time throughout, it still would have been a great performance. But like I always say about making a journey out of songs and live performances, the best bands will do that, and the Marshall Tucker Band are no exception. They will take you on that journey so that once you're already happy with where you are, they then just ramp it up another level. But it's great to have a look at this video because we get a great angle to see exactly the amount of work that Toy's thumb gets through, and it's not only the speed with which he manages to pick those strings, but the control and the accuracy that he has with it in order to get really clear, concise runs throughout his playing without having to compromise anything because of the fact that he uses his thumb. And I have done a video on Toy before, so check that out if you want a little bit more background and on the Marshall Tucker Band as a whole. But he's one of those players, absolute classic case of a guy who's worked out his own way to do it and found his own unique style, and certainly with that unique vibrato as well. But thank you so much for suggesting this video for me to take a look at, and keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!